Street corner serenade. The mingled smells of car fumes and roasting nuts clung to the chilly air as Leo hauled the guitar case from the trunk. Almost showtime, kiddo, he said, a plume of vapor escaping his lips. Lily, a splash of pink scarf and boundless exuberance, had already zipped across the pavement, staking out their usual pitch. Dad! Corner's clear. Must be tea time for Mr. Henderson. She gestured toward the intersection of Elm and Bleecker, typically claimed by a surly hot dog vendor. Today, the space was blessedly vacant. Leo trailed behind, the weight of the guitar mirroring the burden in his chest. Rent loomed large, Lily's sneakers had holes, and his Martin's strings were starting to whine like disturbed hornets. He swallowed, battling the familiar tide of worry. Oblivious, Lily was a tiny sunbeam. She darted around, carefully placing their hand-decorated jar, shimmering with childish glitter and the hopeful slogan, "Melodies make memories," on a rickety crate. "Tada," she announced, clapping with delight. Leo unfolded the case and began the ritual of tuning. The clamor of the city, shrieking brakes, blaring horns, snatches of dialogue, receded as he honed in on the subtle interplay of tension and slack. He tested each string, listening intently, his forehead creased in concentration. "You've got this, Papa," Lily chirped, her voice a soothing balm. She perched on the crate's edge, her bright gaze fixed on him. "Everyone adores your songs." A weak smile flickered across his face. "Thanks, love." He knew she believed it unconditionally, a conviction that propelled him onward, at least for the moment. At last, the instrument was ready. He inhaled deeply, shut his eyes briefly, and conjured the image of Lily's face, illuminated with pride. That vision was his touchstone, his impetus. He began to play. A gentle, blues-tinged riff, a well-worn tune, filled the air, a hopeful lure for passers-by. The notes, tentative at first, gradually gathered strength. He opened his eyes, surveying the street. A few hurried past, eyes glued to their screens. A young couple, lost in each other's world, offered not a glance. An older woman paused momentarily, then shook her head and moved on. Undeterred, Lily erupted in applause after the first verse. "Encore, Dad." "Magnificent." Leo's spirits sagged slightly. The donation jar remained resolutely barren. He launched into the second verse, projecting his voice with greater force, more conviction. He fought to ignore the knot of apprehension tightening in his gut. Early days, he reasoned. Lunchtime traffic hadn't even begun. Perhaps, just perhaps, fortune would smile upon them. He caught Lily's eye, her steadfast grin a silent pledge of brighter times ahead. He had to persevere for her sake. A familiar melody. Sarah was miles away, mentally. Her to-do list scrolled through her mind like a ticker tape: negotiate the Anderson account, finalize Lily's soccer registration, find a decent plumber before the ancient pipes in her condo gave up the ghost entirely. The relentless city hum, usually a comforting background noise, felt like a swarm of angry bees buzzing in her ears. Then a different sound cut through the noise. A melody, tentative at first, then gaining strength. A guitar. Nothing remarkable in itself, street musicians were a dime a dozen in this part of town. But this wasn't just any tune. Sarah stopped dead. It couldn't be. Her heart skipped a beat, then hammered against her ribs. The melody grew clearer, more distinct, pulling her forward like an invisible thread. It was achingly familiar, a song she hadn't heard in decades. A song from a different lifetime. She rounded the corner, and there he was. Leo. Older, definitely. The boyish awkwardness had been replaced by a quiet strength etched into his face. His hair was shorter, a little thinner, but the way his brow furrowed in concentration as he played was exactly as she remembered. He sat on a small folding stool, his worn guitar resting comfortably in his lap. A small open guitar case lay at his feet, a scattering of bills inside. Beside him, a girl, maybe 10 years old, with bright, intelligent eyes, sat sketching in a notebook. Lily, she realized. She'd seen the flyers. He was playing Wonderwall. Not just playing it, but feeling it. Each note resonated with a depth of emotion that transcended the simple chords. It was a raw, vulnerable performance poured out onto the busy sidewalk. Sarah leaned against the brick wall of a nearby building, unnoticed, mesmerized. The years melted away. Suddenly, she was 16 again, sitting around a crackling campfire under a stardusted sky, the scent of pine needles thick in the air. Leo, a gangly kid with braces and a shy smile, strumming that same song, his voice cracking with nerves and youthful passion. Summer camp, 1999. She closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her, a wave of nostalgia so powerful it almost knocked her off her feet. The memories flooded back, whispered secrets, shared dreams, stolen kisses under the bleachers. The carefree joy, the bittersweet ache of first love. When she opened her eyes, a single tear traced a path down her cheek. Leo was still playing, lost in the music. Lily looked up from her sketchbook and met Sarah's gaze. A knowing smile played on her lips, a silent invitation. Sarah straightened her shoulders, took a deep breath, and walked closer. Whispers of the past. The final chord of Stars Align dissipated into the evening chill. Leo set down his guitar, the sudden quiet amplifying the nervous flutter in his hands. He risked a glance at Lily, perched on her makeshift milk crate seat, her eyes alight with pride. Her small nod was a universe of approval. "Thanks," he mumbled into the microphone, avoiding the smattering of faces. "Means a lot you listened." He began packing, his movements tight, almost desperate. He yearned to vanish, to unspool the last hour and retract the exposed nerve of his performance. "That was captivating, Leo." The voice, laced with a puzzling familiarity, halted him in his tracks. He lifted his gaze. Sarah. Standing a few feet away, a kind smile played on her lips. He offered a pale imitation in return. "Thanks for stopping by, Sarah." He raked a hand through his hair, suddenly feeling exposed. She closed the distance between them, her gaze intense, probing. Lily, ever perceptive, abandoned her coin collecting and the resulting jingle. The air crackled. Sarah leaned in, her voice a silken thread, barely audible. "You serenaded me in '99. The words struck him like a rogue wave. He recoiled, bumping into his amplifier. 1999, the year his world had simultaneously taken flight and crashed to earth. The year he'd nearly silenced his music for good. He stared at Sarah, his mind a whirlwind, grasping for tattered memories, faces dissolving into the past. I don't understand," he stammered, his voice a fragile whisper. I don't recall." Her smile softened, edged with wistfulness. "It was a lifetime ago, perhaps. A different skin." She paused, her eyes searching his soul. "The Blue Moon Cafe. You graced the stage every Friday night." The Blue Moon Cafe. A spark of recognition flickered. A hazy tableau of a dimly lit room. Cigarette smoke haloing the stage lights. The palpable jitters of a young musician clutching his instrument. But the faces in the audience remained elusive, lost in the mists of time and regret. I played a lot of gigs back then," he said, his voice thick with bewilderment. "I'm sorry, I can't place you." Lily, sensing the shift in the emotional current, left the guitar case and slipped her small hand into her father's. Her touch grounded him, anchoring him to the present moment. Sarah's gaze drifted to Lily, a wave of warmth washing over her features. "She inherited your eyes," she murmured, then returned her attention to Leo, a resolute spark igniting in her eyes. "Don't fret, Leo. The past has a habit of bubbling to the surface, ready or not. And sometimes," she breathed, her voice nearly lost to the night, "it's precisely what we require. Echoes of dreams. Remember that summer, Leo?" Sarah asked, leaning back against the park bench. Sunlight filtered through the canopy above, scattering tessellated light across the weathered planks. "Summer of '99. We were going to set the world ablaze with our music." Leo chuckled, a resonant rumble. "Blaze might be pushing it, Sarah. More like, maybe grace the stage of being seen with our presence." He brushed a fallen leaf from Lily's hair, a swift, gentle gesture. "Destiny had different plans, though, didn't she?" Lily, perched between them, her gaze bouncing between their faces, chimed in, "What kind of shows, Dad? Epic stadium status?" He gave her hair another affectionate tousle. "More like intimate sets. Very chill. Very us back then." A shadow of longing crossed his features. He recalled the hardened tips of his fingers, the rasp in his throat after rehearsals, the pure elation of unlocking a perfect chord progression. Sarah nudged him gently. "Don't be so modest, Leo. You were incredible. You had this gift for imbuing simple tunes with profound meaning." Her gaze drifted towards the playground, where a chorus of shrieks and laughter echoed. "I often wonder what became of that, Leo." He sighed, a wisp of air lost to the joyful noise around them. "Responsibilities, Sarah. The trajectory of life. One thing cascaded into another. Lily needed me." He squeezed his daughter's hand, a silent reassurance. "And I wouldn't trade it for the universe." Lily grinned. "You still play, Dad. Just not arena-sized stuff." "Precisely," Leo responded, his smile returning, albeit with a hint of constraint. He paused, then admitted, "But Sarah's right. There was a chapter when I harbored ambitions. Grand, audacious, perhaps impossible dreams. Before reality grounded me." He picked up a pebble and flung it at a nearby oak. It struck the bark with a soft thud. Sarah watched him, her expression softening with empathy. She recognized that look. The unspoken regrets. the silent what-ifs. It mirrored a sentiment she understood intimately. She'd pursued her own aspirations with fervor, a frantic dash across continents, before settling into a serene, predictable existence. Now, the whispers of her own forsaken ambitions resonated. Lily, ever perceptive, cocked her head. "What were your dreams, Dad? For real? You never actually told me." Leo hesitated, a fleeting glimpse of vulnerability surfacing. He looked at his daughter, her face an unblemished canvas of curiosity and affection. Taking a steadying breath, he said, "I wanted to craft songs, Lilybug. Songs that stirred something within people. Songs that resonated." His voice trailed off, a blush creeping up his neck. Lily's eyes widened in surprise. "Like the song you sang on the street? The one Sarah recognized?" A sudden hush fell upon them. Leo turned to Sarah, a silent question in his gaze. He hadn't revealed the detail to Lily. Sarah returned his look, a knowing smile gracing her lips. It seemed the past possessed an uncanny ability to resurface, even in the most unassuming settings. The festival beckons. The flyer slapped against the bakery window by a gust of wind caught Lily's eye. Brightly colored, it screamed about the Harmony Hills Music Festival, a 3-day extravaganza promising local talent, food stalls, and enough tie-dye to blind a rainbow. She tugged on Leo's sleeve, frosting clinging to her fingers. "Dad, look." Leo, preoccupied with counting out the correct change, glanced up distractedly. "Harmony Hills again? Seems like they just had one." "No, silly. Look closer." Lily pointed a jam-covered finger at the small print at the bottom. "Auditions now open. Showcase your talent." Sarah, browsing the sourdough loaves, leaned in. "Auditions? Leo, you should totally do it." Her eyes sparkled with an enthusiasm that made Leo slightly uneasy. He chuckled, a dry, self-deprecating sound. "Me? On a stage? You've got the wrong guy." "But you're amazing," Lily protested, her voice rising in pitch. "Everyone loves your music, Dad. Remember Mrs. Abernathy? She said you should be famous." Leo winced. Mrs. Abernathy, bless her cotton socks, was known for exaggerating. "Street corners are one thing, Lil. The festival stage is different. Besides, who would watch you?" Sarah stepped forward, her expression serious. "Leo, that's nonsense. You're a natural, and Lily can be backstage cheering you on." She paused, her gaze softening. "Don't let fear hold you back. You deserve this." He shifted uncomfortably, the weight of their encouragement pressing down on him. The idea of actually performing, of putting himself out there again, sent a familiar knot of anxiety twisting in his stomach. He hadn't felt this exposed since before Lily. "I don't know, guys," he mumbled, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. "It's been a long time. I'm probably rusty. And what if I mess up? What if no one likes it?" Lily grabbed his hand, her small fingers squeezing tight. "Dad, you won't mess up. You're the best. And even if you do, so what? We'll just laugh about it later. It'll be fun." Sarah smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Exactly. Think of it as a chance to rediscover something you love. Something you've kept hidden for too long." Her words resonated with a strange familiarity, as if she understood something about his past that he hadn't even articulated himself. He felt a tremor of hope, quickly followed by a wave of self-doubt. The festival beckoned, promising a spotlight he wasn't sure he was ready for. Lily's encouragement. The lingering echo of the lullabies' final chord brushed against the flaking paint of their apartment wall. Leo gently secured his guitar in its time-worn case, the snap of the closures a subtle period at the end of their quiet evening. Lily, perched on her bed's edge, bypassed her usual playful banter. Her brow, instead, was creased with worry, small hands knotted in her lap. "Daddy," she ventured, her voice unusually hushed. Leo pivoted, concern etching deeper lines around his gaze. "What is it, sweetie? Is everything all right?" She hopped down, her feet making no sound on the aged floorboards as she approached him. "Why don't you ever sing your own songs anymore?" Her question resonated within him like a struck chord. He hadn't grasped the depth of her attentiveness. He hesitated, searching for the proper response. "Well, you know, they're old tunes. And the popular ones, the covers, they help with the bills." Lily shook her head, her pigtails dancing. "But yours are better. They fill me with a mix of happy and sad. Like the one about fireflies at Grandma's. And the lost kite? Those are special, Daddy." He knelt, his hand finding hers. Her small fingers encircled his, her grasp surprisingly firm. "Just songs, Lilybug. Nothing noteworthy." They are. Mrs. Rodriguez always hums the Firefly one when we run into her at the store. And Mr. Henderson? He said the kite song stirred up old memories of his childhood. Your music awakens something in people, Daddy. That's extraordinary, certainly more than Brown-Eyed Girl. She wrinkled her nose, a gesture that never failed to tug at his heartstrings. Leo gazed into her earnest features, seeing not just paternal love, but a reflection of a forgotten conviction, his own belief. He saw the pure, unsullied faith in his artistry eroded by years of letdowns and self-doubt. That gentleman yesterday, Lily pressed, her tone gaining resolve, he enjoyed your songs, didn't he? He paused to listen. Maybe, perhaps others would too. He sighed, raking his fingers through his already tousled hair. Lily, honey, it's not that simple. Auditions are brutal. There are countless people who are far more gifted. But you won't learn if you don't even try, right? Her eyes shone with a brilliance mirroring the spotlight glare he'd once envisioned. Please, Daddy? Just consider it? For me. He looked at her, truly saw her, and recognized the profundity of her affection, the unwavering support offered so freely. He saw his dormant aspirations gleaming within her eager, hopeful gaze. How could he deny her? How could he deny himself even the slightest chance at something more? All right, he conceded, the word feeling clumsy on his tongue. All right, Lilybug. I'll give it some thought. I promise. A dazzling grin erupted across her face, banishing the final traces of worry. She embraced him tightly. Thank you, Daddy. You're the absolute best. He returned the hug, her small body a comforting solace against the unease that had seeped into his bones. He would consider it. He at least owed her that. And perhaps, just perhaps, he owed it to himself as well. The street corner was one thing. A stage. That was an entirely different kind of harmony. Practice and partnership. The first practice session felt stiff, like a brand new guitar string before it's been properly stretched. Leo's fingers fumbled over the chords of Hallelujah, a nervous tick pulling at the corner of his mouth. Lily sat on the worn rug, meticulously braiding the hair of her favorite stuffed bear, Paddington, her presence a silent, supportive hum in the small living room. Relax, Leo, Sarah said gently, her voice cutting through the slightly off-key melody. You're thinking too much. Just feel it. She adjusted the microphone stand, the metal cold against her skin. Remember how we used to just jam? No pressure, just music. He took a deep breath, tried to loosen his shoulders. Old habits died hard. He glanced at Lily, who offered a reassuring smile. He strummed a simpler chord, the G major ringing out clear and true. Better, Sarah affirmed, picking up her own guitar. Let's just run through the first verse again, focusing on the phrasing. They started again, Sarah's voice weaving around Leo's, her harmonies filling the room with a warmth that chased away some of the chill. Lily hummed along, Paddington clutched tightly in her arms. Slowly, Leo began to find his rhythm, the familiar melody unlocking something inside him. The knot in his stomach eased, replaced by a fragile sense of hope. Suddenly, a warm, gravelly voice interrupted. Well, now. That's a sound I haven't heard in a while. Mr. Thompson stood in the doorway, leaning on his cane, a twinkle in his eye. Leo's cheeks flushed. Mr. Thompson, I didn't see you there. Just taking my constitutional, the older man chuckled, though his gaze remained fixed on Leo's guitar. Don't mind me, but I couldn't help but overhear. You've still got it, Leo. Maybe even more than you think. He shuffled further into the room, his gaze softening. Remember that little trick I showed you with the vibrato on the bridge? Try adding it to the chorus. It'll give it a little soul. He demonstrated with a trembling hand, the air vibrating with the ghost of a sound. Leo hesitated, then tried it. The subtle shift in tone resonated through the room, adding a layer of depth and emotion he hadn't realized was missing. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. Much better. See, Mr. Thompson beamed. Don't be afraid to let your heart sing, son. That's what people want to hear. He nodded towards Lily. And it sounds like you've got quite the fan club right here. Lily giggled, abandoning Paddington to clap her hands. Dad, that was amazing. The praise, especially from Lily, warmed Leo from the inside out. He looked at Sarah, who gave him an encouraging nod. A genuine smile stretched across his face, the first in what felt like a long time. Thanks, Mr. Thompson, he said, his voice stronger now. I think I'm starting to get it. He looked down at the guitar, no longer seeing a source of fear, but a conduit for something beautiful. He was a long way from ready, but for the first time, Leo felt like he had a fighting chance. Harmony Hills. Harmony Hills was aptly named. Emerald slopes, sprinkled with vibrant wildflowers, cradled the makeshift stage. A palpable hum permeated the air, a potent blend of trepidation and exhilaration. Leo's mouth went desert dry. He swallowed hard. The audience, a vibrant tapestry of faces, young and old, murmured, their combined voices a low, comforting drone. Lily's hand tightened around his. "You've got this, Dad." Her eyes, pools of unwavering faith, steadied him. Yet a knot twisted in his gut. Not since that disastrous audition, the memory a cruel echo of scathing critiques, had he felt such paralyzing anxiety. He nervously tweaked the guitar's tuning pegs, the habitual motion offering little solace to his jangled nerves. Sarah Chin, standing apart, flashed a reassuring smile, her calm a stark contrast to the turmoil raging within him. "Breathe, Leo," she mouthed, her words lost in the rising crescendo of sound. He nodded, attempting to comply, but his lungs felt constricted, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. His name echoed across the field. He stiffened, his feet rooted to the spot. Color drained from his face. This was the moment. He had to step into the light, face the expectant throng, and prove he wasn't defined by past failures. He took a tentative step, then another. The stage felt miles away, an impossible distance. The microphone, a cold, metallic sentinel, beckoned. He clutched the guitar, his knuckles bone white. Then he saw her. Lily. A sunbeam in her yellow dress, positioned near the front. Her gaze met his, and her face erupted in a radiant smile, an unqualified expression of belief. She proudly held aloft a wobbly, hand-drawn sign, "Go Dad." The knot inside him eased. Fear began to dissipate, supplanted by a powerful wave of love, profound gratitude, and fierce resolve. This performance wasn't solely for himself. It was for her. An opportunity to demonstrate that chasing dreams was worthwhile no matter how unreachable they seemed. He approached the microphone, adjusted its height, and drew a deep breath, this time infused with purpose. "This song," he announced, his voice surprisingly firm, "is for my daughter, Lily. She's the reason I'm up here." A wave of warmth rippled through the crowd. He struck the initial chords, a melody composed years prior, a lullaby he'd sung to her in her infancy. The music surged through him, washing away his apprehension, leaving only the unadulterated emotion he felt for his child. He sang of her laughter, her indomitable spirit, her unwavering faith in him. He sang of their unbreakable bond, a love that had weathered every trial. He poured his soul into each note, each carefully chosen word, his voice resonating with a newfound depth and strength. As the final chord resonated and then faded, a profound silence descended, followed by an explosion of applause. He glanced at Lily, her eyes glistening with tears. He knew then, unequivocally, that he had already triumphed. A new beginning. The auditorium held its breath. Leo squeezed Lily's hand, the plastic of her sparkly hair clip digging into his palm. He focused on the single point of light reflecting off the polished stage floor, trying to ignore the rhythmic thump of his own heart. "And the winner of the Silver String Scholarship is Eleanor Ainsworth." A wave of polite applause rippled through the room. Lily squeezed his hand back, her small fingers surprisingly strong. He managed a weak smile. Disappointment pricked at him, a familiar sting, but it was quickly overshadowed by the swell of pride he felt for just getting here. As people began to file out, a small group approached them. Mrs. Davies, the elderly woman who always sat on the park bench, beaming. A young couple, hands intertwined, their eyes shining with an emotion he couldn't quite place. And Sarah, her face lit with unrestrained excitement. "Leo, that was incredible," Mrs. Davies said, her voice a gentle tremor. "You poured your heart out. You sang like an angel." The young woman from the couple spoke next. "We're getting married next month, and your song, it just felt like us. Would you ever consider playing at our wedding?" Leo's throat tightened. I don't know what to say." Sarah stepped forward, her arm around Lily's shoulders. "Of course, he will. He'd be honored. Right, Leo?" She winked. Before he could fully process the wedding offer, another person approached. Mr. Henderson, the owner of the Cozy Kettle, the local coffee shop. "Leo, I've been looking for someone to play on Friday nights. Something to draw in the crowds. Interested?" The offers kept coming, a gentle tide washing away the sting of the loss. A birthday party, a small town fair, even a request to record a demo. It was overwhelming, exhilarating. That night, back in their small apartment, Lily helped him sort through the business cards and hastily scribbled notes. The air crackled with a different kind of energy, a hopeful hum. "So, Dad," Lily said, perched on the edge of the worn armchair, "are we famous now?" Leo chuckled, running a hand through her tangled hair. "Not quite famous, Munchkin. But maybe we're on our way." Sarah arrived with a celebratory pizza, its cheesy aroma filling the small space. They ate huddled together, laughing and planning. Lily, fueled by excitement and pizza, started humming the tune Leo had played earlier, the one that had resonated so deeply with the audience. As the night drew to a close, Leo looked at Lily, her face flushed with happiness, and at Sarah, her eyes sparkling with genuine joy. He hadn't won the scholarship, but he'd found something far more valuable. A community. A purpose. A new beginning built not on accolades, but on the simple, powerful connection of music and shared dreams. And for the first time in a long time, Leo felt a genuine sense of hope bloom within him, a melody of possibility rising in his heart.